All right, so here we are, and we will start lying on the block with the block underneath the sacrum, stretching out those hip flexors. Making your way onto your mat. Maybe taking a few moments, just letting yourself relax and soften into the floor. Inhaling and exhaling. And then lifting that pelvis up, sliding the block under, sliding the legs out to straight. Inhaling up into the lower belly, exhale, pouring out. And you can always push on the block near your waist, get a little more length in the lower back. And then maybe cooperating with the block a little more, making those legs parallel, hip distance apart or right together. We'll reach through the heels, pulling those hip bones up toward the head, stretching yourself long over the block. And we'll take a few more breaths here. And then let's bend our right leg, foot on the floor. Take a moment there, pressing down into the right foot, reaching a little more through the left heel. And then hinging that right leg up, pulling the knee toward your head, reaching away through the heel. So maybe just holding there, or taking one or both hands up to that knee or thigh, pulling it a little bit more toward you. And then we'll set that right foot down, sliding it out and bending the left leg. Take a moment, pressing the left foot into the floor, reaching long through the right heel. And then hinging that left leg up, pulling the knee towards your head, reaching away through the right heel. Maybe just holding there, taking the right hand onto that left knee, pulling the thigh closer. And setting the left foot down, sliding it out to straight, taking a couple more breaths here. And then bend the knees, lifting up off the block, taking that block out, rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae. We land on the floor, and then we'll come up into bridge pose. So getting those feet parallel, heels under the knees, and pressing down in both feet, tucking the tailbone, peeling yourself up off the floor, maybe interlocking the fingers underneath. Inhaling into the front of the body, exhale, lifting from underneath. And maybe bending the arms and taking the hands onto the sacrum for a little more support. Our next option, but remember it's only an option that's kind of early in the class, but maybe you want to try lifting that right leg up and hinging it up. Pulling the knee toward one ball, pressing the left knee toward the other. And we'll set the right leg down. So doing what you need here, maybe coming down and coming back up in the bridge pose, and maybe hinging the left leg in. Pulling long and flat across the top of the body. Setting that left foot down. Taking a few more breaths. Maybe noticing you weren't breathing while you were hinging the leg. If you were doing that, that would be me, I confess. Even though I was talking, I wasn't breathing. Let's roll down. Landing on the floor, letting go. And then let us make our way up to sitting, and sitting in Sukhasana with crossed legs. And using those arms alongside, lengthening up. Getting space between the vertebrae, space in the hip sockets. And slowly release with the arms. Ooh, I forgot to squinge. And letting the hands rest on the knees, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders, taking a few moments here. Finding your breath again. Long and spacious spine. And then let's reach out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Inhale and exhale, breathing those arms up overhead. Let's do that twice more. Taking an inhale and an exhale down, really stretching out. Taking a breath up. And once more. And then twisting to the right, so I'm being the mirror here. Inhale, lots of space. Exhale, twisting into the space. Each breath gently encourages that twist to deepen. Let's go of resistance. And back to the center. Let's twist to the left. Inhale and exhale. Every breath a subtle action. And one more breath. Coming back to the center. And we will change the cross of the legs. Coming forward, reaching out and over, breathing into the back of the body. And then we'll walk the hands over to the right diagonal, reaching long through the left side. And then left hand on the right knee, twisting inside out, or maybe your arm fits better down there on the floor. Reaching back through the front of the right shoulder. And then reaching that right arm over the ear, sort of a little side bend thing. And then reaching the right arm back and reach the hand down to the floor. It might not touch the floor, just reaching down and back. Reach back up to the vertical, the diagonal for a moment. And then swooping around and back to the center. Couple deep breaths here in the center. And then walking the hands over to the left diagonal, reaching long through the right side. And then right hand on the left knee or maybe on the floor. And twisting open, pouring out the front of the left shoulder, out the fingertips. And then reaching that left arm over the ear, in kind of a side bend curve. And then reaching that left arm back and then reach the hand down like it's reaching for the floor. Probably won't touch. Even my long arms, the hand doesn't touch the floor here. And then bringing that arm back up to the diagonal out from the shoulder. And then we'll swoop back to the center. Breathing into the back of the body. And coming up, unfurling that spine vertebrae by vertebrae. Landing back up on top of the sitting bones, finding the long and spacious spine for a few breaths. And then let's come around down to all fours. And we'll take a couple cats and cows. So we're feeling the spine moving here, and then also noticing that hinging of the hip joints, the pelvis moving over the thigh bones, and that sliding of the shoulder blades on the upper back, and that little movement of the arm bone there in the shoulder joint. And then let's all finish in a cow back, the arch down, pull the upper chest a little more forward, and then rounding cat back into child's pose, or maybe only almost child's pose. And then letting that cat back pick you up, and into the cow back with a little pull forward again. Maybe it's almost an upward facing dog on the knees. And then hinging back, contract into the calf to pull you back. And then let that calf back carry you forward, maybe all the way to a kneeling up dog as we go to the cow back. Contract and lift yourself up and back, pulling back toward child's pose. And once more of that big ripple. Cat backing yourself up, lengthen out, maybe all the way to a kneeling up dog, and contract and pulling back. And this time we'll settle into child's pose for a couple of breaths. And then let's expand up into downward facing dog. Carefully placing those hands, fingertips forward or a little bit diagonal. And lifting the knees and slowly big yawn in the back of the legs. So we didn't really stretch open the back of the legs much yet. So being patient, maybe using the extra wide downward facing dog here. Inhaling up to those sitting bones, exhale, pouring down the backs of the legs. Funny, every time I say that, and I've said that a lot of times, there's still that extra little lift back and pour down that happens. There's always a little bit more. All right, and then maybe walking the dog or anything else you want to do here. And then we will finish with this dog walking. And finding the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Nothing moving but the breath. And then noticing how much movement that breath actually is. Not only in the expansion and drawing in of the rib cage, but also in that subtlety throughout the body with each inhale and exhale. Makes little micro adjustments. And then coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then let us make our way back up to downward facing dog. And we're going to lift the right leg up. So we're not going to go anywhere. We're just going to lift the right leg. So lifting it slowly. Take a breath. Reach that left heel a little more to the floor. Press down through the hands a little to rebound up through that right leg, and maybe it lifts higher. And then bend the knee dog at the high fire hydrant, opening that right hip, holding the left leg steady. And then just set that right leg down next to the left. Maybe come down for a moment in child's pose if your arms or wrists need a break. And then we'll do that on the left as you're ready, lifting the left leg up. Reaching down into the floor a little more, not by getting heavy into the floor, but reaching into the floor so it does that rebound effect right up through that left leg. Bending the knee, dog at the high fire hydrant, holding that right leg nice and steady. And then setting the left foot down next to the right. Looking between the hands to jump or step forward. And into the concave back halfway up. So you can have a bend in the knees here if you want, but we got those hamstrings a little more stretched out with our three-legged dog. And then pouring over into the forward bend, taking a couple breaths here. And let's come up to standing, big front body yawn. Like we're on the block, pulling those hip bones up. Extra reach through the tailbone. Feeling like there's the block on the sacrum and we're stretching over it so that our hips and our butt don't go back. And then pressing those arms wide and down, long through the top of the head. Tadasana Samastiti. And let's circle those shoulders up the front, down the back. Inhale and exhale. And then go in the other direction. And more front to the back, interlocking the fingers, lengthen up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. Hinging over, pressing out through the backs of the hands. And release the arms. Concave back halfway up, folding over. And let's step back with the left leg so we're in our right lunge. And lengthen that lunge out. And let's take a twist to the right. Pulling that right belly, pulling the belly to the right inner thigh. And bringing that right arm down, let's bring the left knee down and Jayasana, the kneeling lunge. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And then a big wide reach down to the floor and stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa or not, any version. And we'll all be in downward facing dog. And let's lift that right leg up, reaching long through the heel, and the knee dog at the high fire hydrant again. This time let's add a circle with that right knee. Dropping the knee forward, out to the parallel side, all the way up and over, and then through to the lunge. And coming down with the left knee, Jayasana again, coming up. And then bringing the arms down, I'm going to put the hands on the right thigh. And the hands can be either more toward the knee or the hip, whatever works for you. And we're going to take the one arm around. So reaching down and forward with the right arm. We'll go nice and slowly the first time. And then reaching up to the ceiling. And you start to twist a little to the right. And then keep reaching back. Where's that edge of your range of motion as you think of reaching for your left foot? And then that right arm comes back around, picks up the left arm, and we bring both arms up. And namaste in front. Straighten up that left leg to step forward into the concave back. Folding over. Coming up to standing. Front body yawn, feeling that block under the sacrum. And pressing the arms down long through the top of the head. And we'll interlock the fingers again. Give those shoulders a circle. Interlock the fingers. Lifting up the front of the body to lift the chest, to lift the chin. Coming forward. And release the hands. Concave back halfway up, folding over. Stepping back with the right leg, so we're in our left lunge. And then we will twist to the left. So try not to kind of let your twist get too, I don't know, spread out. I had a word, but it went away. Anyway, pull that belly in toward the left inner thigh. That's what I mean, drawing into the center line. And then bringing that left arm down, bringing the right knee down. Coming up in Jayasana, the kneeling lunge. And then bringing those arms down wide to the side and onto the left thigh. And we'll take that slow circle around, reaching down and forward with the left arm, and slowly reaching up toward the ceiling. And as that arm comes up to the ceiling, there's a little twisting leftness. And then the arm keeps going. So finding that edge of your range of motion for your shoulder as you reach for your left foot or right foot. And then we come around and we pick our right arm back up, overhead. Namaste in front. Namaste into the floor, lifting up that right knee, stepping forward into the concave back. Folding over. And then from here, let's jump or step back to downward facing dog. And then big press back with the legs as we move through the vinyasa or not. So resisting as you come forward to the plank. Coming to the plank is a good version of the vinyasa. Now we're continuing in the chaturanga, upward facing dog. Downward facing dog. And you know what? I think we forgot to do our circle with that left leg. Oh well. Let's lift the right leg up. And bend the knee dog at the high fire hydrant. Now we're going to do 2 circles around. Knee forward, side and around. And forward, side, and around. Through to the lunge. And let's bring that left knee down. Same circling around with the arms. We're going to come up with both arms. Take a breath. Wide down to the side, hands on the thigh. So moving a little more efficiently. Bringing that right arm forward. Up and over, reaching back, picking up the left arm as it comes forward again. Namaste in front, and namaste into the floor. Stepping back to downward facing dog, and we'll lift our left leg up. Dog at the high fire hydrant. So maybe we'll do 3 circles here to make up for the one we missed. Knee forward, side, up and around. All right, that's the one we missed. Now we'll do 2 circles. And And then through to the lunge. And bringing that right knee down. Enjoy-asana, both arms up. Big reach down toward the floor, hands onto the left thigh. Reaching forward with that left arm, up and around. Picking up the right arm as it comes forward again. Namaste in front. And namaste into the floor. Stepping back to the plank. Continuing through the vinyasa. And we'll all meet up in downward facing dog. Looking between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back, folding over. Couple extra breaths here. And then coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Arms down. Let's come all the way around to namaste. Finding samasthiti, steadiness, smoothing everything out with your breath. And then let's go to Utkatasana. So we're going to go there a little more directly rather than the big circle around, because we're going to have a big circle around in a moment. So just bend the knees, hinge back. Reach those fingertips forward and extend the arms. Utkatasana, the chair pose. And then let's swing those arms behind us. Palms face the floor, little fingers reaching toward each other. Take a few moments there, reaching back through the fingertips, reaching back through the sitting bones, reaching forward through the top of the head. And then we're going to bring the arms wide to the side and forward again. So as those arms reach out, finding that range of motion as you press the arms up. So there may be a little arch in the back as you come up, and then reaching long on that diagonal again. Breathe. All right, let's do that once more. Swooping the arms back, not quite so lingeringly. Squeeze those little fingers toward each other, long reach. And then reaching the arms wide and back overhead. Flatten things out. One more breath. And releasing over. Straighten the legs. Take a deep breath. Concave back. And then we will make our way back to downward facing dog. All right, lifting the right leg up. Don't get the high fire hydrant. So as you guessed, we're going to do 3 circles this time. Knee forward, side, up and over. Or not. You can always not be doing this circling. And then when you've finished your 3 circles, there we are. And we'll come through to the lunge. Coming up in the warrior number 1. Pulling wide from inner thigh to inner thigh, front to back. Anchoring the sitting bones down, lengthening the sides of the body. And then we're going to come forward on the diagonal, like in that Utkatasana, bringing the arms back. Outer little finger side of the hands coming toward each other, palms to the floor. Find a nice long line from the left foot out the top of the head. Little belly and ribs against the spine. And then coming back up to the warrior one, nice and slowly reach back through the fingertips, tilt up, pelvis tilts a little down and forward as the arms slowly come back up overhead. And then we will reach on a long forward diagonal for a moment, and then swoop the arms back, same position, little fingers toward each other, and then coming back up. And let's do that once more. Long reach forward, swoop the arms back, coming back up to the warrior one. And then straightening up that right leg, reaching up through the fingertips. Feel like you're dragging the feet a little in toward the center, inner thighs against the center line. And then turning the feet to parallel to the side, bringing the arms out to parallel. And let's take the arms down, putting those fingers into the hinge of the hip joint as we take a little lift up. And then we'll come forward, pulling the fingers back into your hip joint to help you hinge that pelvis even more, pulling the elbows a little up and back as well as you reach long through the upper chest and fold yourself over. So those hands are almost pulling you up to the ceiling at this point. And then releasing the hands into the floor. And then let's come up on tippy fingers, and we'll take a twist to the left toward the back of the mat. Right hand on the floor, left arm up. Thinking long and open rather than down and over. And then we'll go to the other side, swooping that left hand down to the floor. Right arm comes up, twisting to the right toward the front of the mat. So I'm not the mirror here, but we've done both sides, so it doesn't really matter which side went first. And back to the center, taking a few breaths here, evening things out. And then turning back to the right lunge to the front of the mat and stepping back to that plank through the vinyasa or not, and we'll all meet up in downward facing dog. And here, you could come down into child's pose for a couple breaths. You can hold your upward or downward facing dog, or you could be going through the vinyasa 2 or 3 more times. I'll just turn around to the other side. All right, and then all of that around on the left. Lifting that left leg up. Dog at the high fire hydrant. 3 circlings around. Knee forward, out to the side, up and over. And twice more. And then through to the lunge. Coming up in the warrior number 1 on the left. Pulling front to back, pulling down and up. And I'm going to reach back with the arms coming onto a long diagonal. Palms to the floor, little fingers toward each other. Little pulling of the abdominal muscles up against the spine. Sort of like a chair pose in Warrior 1. And then reaching back through the fingertips to come up, moving slowly, feeling that edge of your range of motion as you come back up to the Warrior 1. And then we'll do that once more, a tad less lingering. Let's start with a long diagonal reach forward. And then we'll swoop the arms down and back. And then bring them up and over. And straightening up that left leg. Like the right leg gets straighter as well. Pulling everything in and up and out the fingertips. And turning to the wide leg forward. Bringing the hands into the crease of the hip joint. Lift up and then hinging over. Pulling the hands into the hip joint, pulling the elbows up and back, reaching forward and over with the upper chest. And then you can release those hands into the floor. And lengthening out. Let's twist to the right toward the back leg, lifting that right arm up. And staying in this right twist, let the left knee bend. Sinking a little bit more down and over now. Straightening up that left leg, and we're still with our hands over to the right. Rotate that right leg out 90 degrees. And find the base of your triangle here. If you need to start out with a little bend in the right knee, go ahead. And then we'll walk the hands up toward the right leg, getting the right hand on the right ankle or shin, opening up into a triangle pose on the right. So coming up as high as you need to get those hips and everything in place. And then you can always deepen again. So like I said, if you need a little bend and straighten to get that right hip rotated out, go ahead and take that. And here we are in the triangle, breathing. And then reaching that left arm over the ear, reach long for a moment. And then pulling down, turning back to the wide leg forward bend. Breathe in the center, smoothing things out. And then we will twist to the left. Right hand on the floor, twisting left. So starting with a big lift and spaciousness and length.
And then a little bend in the right knee. It's the right ankle that usually limits our bend in the right knee here. And then sinking that twist a little more down and around. Find a good spot for yourself. And then we're going to straighten up that right leg, bring the left hand down over near the left foot, and turning the left foot out 90 degrees, making the base of your triangle. Maybe there's a little bend and straighten in the left leg. And then walking the hands over toward the left leg, left hand on the left ankle or shin as we come up and open into the triangle. Maybe you need a little more up to find a little more space and get those hips and those thigh bones in place. And you can also take a bend and a straighten to find that. And then here we are in the triangle. And let's reach that right arm over the ear, long and flat. And coming down back to the wide leg forward bend. So in the ideal and perfect world of Vinyasa Yoga, we move smoothly from one pose to the other. We can just go there. Our body will find it right away. But that often doesn't happen quite that way. So if you find there's a way you can make a little adjustment or ease something out and back in, like I was talking about there, to take your triangle higher, maybe a little bend and straighten, a little mini warrior two there a moment. So we do what we need to do to find the best pose for ourselves in this moment. All right, let's breathe here in the wide leg forward bend for a few more moments. And then turning back to the left lunge, which is the front of the mat wherever we came from, and stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa or not, and we'll all be in downward facing dog again. Oh. And let's see if we can find 3 or so nice deep breaths in downward facing dog. Once again, nothing moving but the breath. It's a different kind of difficulty just to hold this downward facing dog at the end of class than it is at the beginning. And then we will finish here. Coming down, sitting back in child's pose. And then coming up let's come up on our knees and we'll do Ustrasana, the camel pose. All right, so you can do the around the hips hands if you'd rather, but maybe for today, doing the fingertips going down. So you don't want the hands up here in the lower back so that you feel like you're pressing into the arch, sliding down to where that block was. So we're going to feel our hands sort of like that block on the pelvis. So as we arch back, we don't want that pelvis to tilt back. There's that block pressing against the pelvis as we lift up and over. And so maybe we didn't go as far as we might have wished. That's fine, just breathe there. Inhale and exhale. And then maybe things ease a little further, pressing forward and down with the hands. And let's come back up, lengthening up through the top of the head. And then we'll do one more Ustrasana. If you want to use a different hand position, go ahead. Maybe those hands are going to come to the heels. Here we go, lifting up and over. And then we will come back up. Big lift up, and then contract and round back, tearing yourself back down to child's pose for a couple breaths into the lower back. And then coming up, let's Baddha Konasana, feet together, knees out to the side. You'll be coming to the front of your mat, because then you'll be able to roll right down into Shavasana. All right. So holding on to the ankles or shins, using them to lengthen up through the top of the head. And then coming forward, doing your best to tilt at the pelvis. Feel like that block is there again, pressing a little forward. And then continuing from there through the waist, the lower back of the ribs, the shoulders, and out the top of the head. I've noticed in Baddha Konasana, there seems to be, for some reason, maybe it's just me though, I have a bigger tendency to just drop my head down rather than try to start that forward bending from the pelvis, from the base of the spine out and over. Thinking of putting your forehead on the floor just beyond your toes. And then coming up, and we will make our way down to the floor. You can keep that Baddha Konasana if you like. You can use it for your whole Shavasana or maybe just part of it. So let's see, we've got about 2 or 3 minutes. Big inhale, exhale, dropping in, melting into the floor.
And then breathing it back into your body, into this room. Moving the fingers and toes, getting the circulation going. You stretch the arms overhead. And bend the knees, gently making your way up to sitting. And sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. In a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.